The Truth Girls.
Hi everyone, it's Sonia here. My mother has only been in a public nursing home for 2 weeks, and already I can see that they're not able to give the care that the clients need. I can see now why the pandemic was such a catastrophe in the nursing home. And I want to tell you about what's been happening even just in the last 2 weeks, what I've seen my mother go through, and what happened at the hospital. I just want to say thanks for your comments. You guys are so awesome and supportive. Thanks for your comments on my last video where I showed you like our reunion. Yeah, my mom's a really amazing person with such a strong spirit. She's so tough, and people say, oh, maybe that's where I get my strength. You know, maybe I do. It's rough though. And I'm so preoccupied with what's going on in our own lives, a lot of it being the effect of the pandemic, that it's hard to focus on anything else. And I had seen Amazing Polly's video about, is this torture? And I don't think it's classified as torture. I mean, unless it's intentional, right? But it's the situation that we're all in right now puts us under so much stress and duress that it is gonna have psychological and emotional effects. You know, when you're isolated and your family's at risk and you can't protect them, it makes you feel so powerless and so alone. And it's just like, it is what you do, become apathetic and you do become preoccupied with your own stuff. So, you know, it's just to say, yeah, that's what's happening to everyone, including me. And I want to get the word out today about what's going on in the public nursing homes, because I think people should know. And I'm super preoccupied with it. Before I start, I just want to let you know, as far as I'm concerned, food shortages are a real concern. Everything is just falling apart. Things are getting so much worse. This is not over. And I want you to know that I have a hookup for you to get a discount if you want to invest in a 4-week MRE supply kit. 4 weeks for one person. I'm going to run my little promo here. And if you're interested, click the link below for more info. My Patriot Supply are the go-to experts in emergency preparedness. Right now, you can save up to $100 off a 4-week supply of their delicious and nutritious food that lasts up to 25 years. But you might need it as soon as next month if things continue to get worse. Don't let yourself get caught unprepared, not when you can get a 4-week supply of emergency food shipped right to your doorstep. Go to preparewithtruthergirls.com right now. That's preparewithtruthergirls.com. So yes, if you're looking to get prepared now for what is probably going to be coming this fall, check out the link for more info. You get a discount. Okay, so my mom was finally transferred to this public nursing home a couple weeks ago. First time that she's ever been in a public home. You guys know the story. I've been taking you on my journey this whole time with her retirement homes and all that, and her moves. First time she's in a public nursing home, first time I ever seen the inside of one. I had heard absolute horror stories about like the amount of neglect that went on in there, you know. So of course we didn't want her in one because they had such a bad reputation. But in the end, that's where she had to go because the private one kicked her out because of her behavioral issues related to dementia, such as going into other people's rooms. Not staying in her room during the quarantine too. And okay, you guys saw in the video, it looks nice. I mean, it's clean. It's hospital-like, but it's clean. The facilities are okay. But one thing I noticed was there's not a lot of staff. And a couple problems. One thing was that the first time I went to visit my mother, I noticed that she had a bruise on the back of her hand. The first time I noticed some small bruises. You can see them in the video. I didn't think too much of it because they were pretty small. But I noticed. And then the second time I saw her, the second time was in the garden, and I noticed she had a larger bruise, and it was over here. So I mentioned it to one of the workers. I said, my mother has a bruise on her hand. And the worker was like, oh, well, maybe she hit something or she knocked her hand against the furniture. And I was thinking, that doesn't make sense, because if you fall, you put your palm out. And if you hit something intentionally, you hit it with the palm usually, or maybe the knuckles if you're really angry. But nobody hits things with the back of their hand to the point where they'd have a big bruise. So I was thinking it looks like a defensive wound. I wasn't going to jump to a conclusion about it's the staff or anything, but I was just, in my mind, I made a note of that. It looks like she was trying to block somebody from hitting her. So I'd been there once, saw a small bruise. Second time I saw another bruise that was larger, that was here. And I went back the next day, and we were looking for my mom. She wasn't in her room, and when we found her, she was coming out of the other hallway, followed by a man, another resident, and she was saying, "He beat me." She was telling us, "He beat me so badly, he hit me." And she had a big bruise on her hand. It had, like, it was a new one. She had a bruise. So the orderly was right there. So that mystery solved. We now know that she was being hit by another resident. And today I got a call, and they were like, "We want to let you know that your mother was attacked by another resident," basically. She went into someone's room or whatever, and he hit her, but he hit her really hard, and he pushed her, and she fell and hit her head. And what they told me was that she had a bump and a blue mark on her temple, and also she had a bruise on her hip. So this is ongoing. She's only been there 2 weeks, and she's got bruises all over her hands. Now she's got a bump here, she's got one on her hip. I mean, she's a tiny little lady. She's under 5 feet tall, and she weighs probably about 95 pounds. And obviously they're not able to protect her, because she's in there with, all kinds of other people, including people who are a lot stronger, and obviously, apparently, people who are aggressive. So how do you think I feel about that? And now the staff are really nice from what I've met. Like, I'm pretty good with, like, picking up on someone's vibe, and everyone there just has a really good vibe. Like, they seem like really caring people. But the problem is there aren't enough of them. There were 2 orderlies, 1 head nurse, and a nurse. And you guys saw the hallway. That's one hallway, but then there's a common room, a little dining area, and another hallway. So they have 2 orderlies, or maybe sometimes 3, and 1 nurse and a head nurse. Like, for this whole floor. Even if they had 1 extra nurse, they can't be giving care to individuals and supervising the group. Like, they just don't have the staff, and they'll admit it. Like, they say so. They don't have the staff. And it's so dangerous, as you see, with what just happened to my mother. And not only that, but another thing happened to my mother, which is that, I had been taking care of her through February. And as of the beginning of March, I wasn't able to go into her other retirement home anymore. Then she was transferred to the hospital. I didn't see her for, like, March, April, May, June, and into July, so over 4 months. And in all that time, nobody cut her toenails, and nobody took care of all the other stuff that she's got going on with her feet, because her toes are crossed like this, because she had a bunion operation. Actually, just as a side note, if you have bunions and you get an operation, it's possible that they end up cutting your tendons, and then, like, one of the toes will cross over, so they're called hammer toes. So she has crossed toes, and that creates other issues where she's liable to get sores and stuff. And in all those 4 months, nobody took care of her feet, to the point where, she could have had an infection, or it could have gotten really bad. So I gave her a pedicure, but on the second visit, on the Sunday, I noticed that she had a strange, like, thing on her heel. It was like a blister, and like a purple raised area, and then another red patchy kind of area. I've done a lot of wound care. I've been doing feet and wound care in my day job for many, many, many years. I've dealt with a lot of wounds, a lot of foot issues. I've never seen anything like this. So I took care of all the other stuff, and I went to get the nurse, and I said, it looks like it could be some kind of an infection. I've seen impetigo before, and the blisters, but it didn't look like that. But I didn't know what it was. But from the Sunday to the Monday, it had gone from being a little thing on her heel and a little red spot under the heel to taking up this much of her heel. The whole heel, all the skin was detached into a big bubble with all liquid underneath. In one day, it spread so much. So I got the nurse, and I told them, you guys need to deal with this, because maybe it's an infection. And I asked, can she see the doctor? And she said, we don't have a doctor here. This is a care facility for seniors who have chronic care needs. This is like the tightest level for the people who need the most care. And she tells me usually a doctor comes in once a week. Once. But because of COVID now the doctor's on vacation, which was absolutely mind-blowing. Maybe the doctor worked too hard during the crisis and now he's on vacation and there's no other doctor. So she tells me they don't have a doctor. Nobody can look at her feet except for the nurse. And if it looks like it's getting worse, she said they'll send her to the hospital. I mean, really, I'm just so mind blown that they have just a couple orderlies, couple nurses, a head nurse, and no doctor. And she said they would send her in an ambulance, unattended, and then somebody else would pick her up on the other end and take care of her in the hospital. I mean, you know, if someone gets an infection in their foot and it spreads from this to this in like one day, I mean, that could be pretty fast spreading. I don't know if it is an infection or not, but if it is, like, that's really fast spreading. If you wait a week or 2 weeks or whatever, I mean, before you know it, you can lose your foot. Do you know how helpless I feel? I alerted the nurses, and that was the first step. And if it doesn't get better, they would send her to the hospital. But I mean, really, this is the place she's in. Lucky that I'm there and I'm checking, because those nurses are so busy, they probably didn't even notice what was going on with her foot. And the reason this probably happened with her foot, assuming it's not an infection, is because, again, no supervision. I sent her with slippers that are open in the back, and she of course lost them right away. Nobody keeps track of anybody's shoes. First time I saw her, she had 4 different shoes, and they were all from 4 different pairs, and only one of them was hers. The second time, she had 2 pairs of shoes that didn't belong to her. And so she's wearing shoes that aren't suitable for her, and it's giving her this blister or perhaps infection in her heel, and nobody even notices, you know. And when I said about her needing to have her shoes, they were like, well, we can't really keep track, and it's true. So this is the thing, these nursing homes in Quebec, when you see any of these statistics about COVID, when you see these statistics about how many people died, keep in mind, they are not equipped to take care of people. They don't have the staff, they don't have the resources. That's why so many people died, because that's where all the deaths were. Mostly in these public places, not in the community. And another thing was, a lot of people died in the residences. They weren't sent to the hospital, they just died right there. And a lot of them died of dehydration. And according to somebody who works there, they said they don't give IVs there. So imagine you have, 50 people on a ward, you have like 5 staff, and these people are sick and they're weak and they can't drink. How is the staff going to give all these people enough to drink to stop them from getting dehydrated? It's impossible. And they don't do IVs. So that's basically a death sentence. So now we know why they died. I mean, I know there's other people that actually just have lung issues and whatever, and it does happen, but a lot of these people literally died of starvation and dehydration. And it's not because the staff doesn't care. It's not like they're doing it on purpose, from what I can tell. They just don't have the resources. But what really needs to happen is, I think the Army needs to come back in until we have the staff to work in there. Because in the meantime, yeah, they have 0 COVID, but people aren't getting taken care of either. I mean, it's just awful. It's like a warehouse. I feel bad for the workers. They can't take care of everybody properly. So in my opinion, they shouldn't have taken the Army out. They should have them in, or have the Red Cross or something like that. So yeah, I just wanted to tell you the story. And I guess it's pretty discouraging for me, demoralizing to know that my mother is there, and I can't help her, I mean, there's only so much I can do. I do what I can, but I can't make sure that she's taken care of. And yeah, also I feel kind of stifled on YouTube, in case you didn't know. My husband has a channel called Police State Radio, so I recorded something for his channel yesterday. So I might go over there and speak my mind from time to time, so if you want to check out his channel and subscribe to it. And that's it, you guys. Thanks for listening. God bless you all. My phone's ringing. Anyway, thank you so much. And yeah, thanks for listening to me, and I'll see you next time.
The truth occurs.